Happy New Comic Book Day, geeks, and welcome to the Script Heroes podcast,
where we bring you comic news, book reviews, and industry blues. My name is Joseph Jasionowski, and I am the writer of Janitor Hero, Cunning Carly, and the Cryptoverse.
And I'm Katie Marcum, scripter of the Rusty Robot Country Club and ghostwriter extraordinaire.
The polls we're diving into this week are Titans Beast World number 1, Green Arrow number 6, Savage Red Sonja number 2, and Vectors number 1.
And our back issue review for the week is Volume 1 of Aftershock's Chicken Devil. If you like what you hear here today, subscribe to the Script Heroes wherever you get your podcasts.
And please follow the pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at Script Heroes Pod, to join the conversation. My personal socials are going to be at JJAZ1111.
And mine are Katie Marcum Pro.
Now, let's move on to the news. Okay, we're going to be getting serious for a moment here, as we will be discussing one of the biggest controversies in the history of comic books. And I don't think that's an overstatement, so put on your serious face, Katie. Drop all of the humor. It is time for us to have a really important discussion.
All right.
This seemingly has come to the surface over the last week or so, despite being, well, it's been around for a while. I'm going to ask you, Katie, I think the answer is going to be yes, but are you familiar with The Dark Knight Returns?
I am.
And are you familiar with the most iconic cover from The Dark Knight Returns? The Batman silhouette flying through the night sky. Very iconic cover. The original artwork, I think, of that cover sold for like $2.4 million. It's a very iconic cover in the history of comic books. But it's come back into kind of comic book culture this week as this big controversy has arisen. So I need to ask you the question, Katie. Which way is Batman facing? Are we looking at his chest or his back?
I mean, I suppose I've always assumed his back.
You see, Katie? And that is where we have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and lied to.
No.
As original artwork from Frank Miller shows that the intended sketch was of Batman's front.
You're lying. You're deceiving me.
I would not. I have been disgusted by this. There have apparently been people who have known all this time, who have always seen it as front-facing. I do not understand how that could be the case, but that is the intent, apparently. And this has fueled so many debates on if the silhouette makes more sense of being, a back view, a front view, of the merits. I mean, people have been getting into this, Andy Diggle says that it can work either way, but then says, it's fucking Batman. Batman, he's going to punch you in the face. He's not running away. That's not a thing he does. It has to be front-facing because it's coming at you.
Well, Mr. Diggle, I challenge you to not run away from Batman himself when he has his back to you and turns and looks over his shoulder. It's a classic Batman move.
I know. I mean, even if you want to go to the live-action homage of that cover done by Ben Affleck, it is of his back. Frank Miller himself did a Captain America homage cover to that cover that is of Captain America's back. So it seems even Frank Miller himself has forgotten his original intent.
This is the death of the author. This is the rise of what is right. It is Batman's back.
This is truly the biggest question of separating, author intent from, the art that you perceive. I don't know if there's been a bigger question for this generation of comic fans. So we're going to throw it to you, our fans. Which way is Batman facing? And let's move on to our next segment.
And if you say he's facing front, you're wrong.
So we're going to be talking about a great achievement in the world of comics and a record being set.
Ooh.
Let me ask you, Katie, how familiar are you with Gold Digger?
Not at all, I don't think.
Okay, it's a comic series published by Antarctic Press. And it is written and drawn by a man named Fred Perry. And it has just broken a record by soliciting its 301st issue, which will make it past Cerebus for the most issues done by a single creator of a comic series in history.
You know what? That is
Um,
incredibly rad.
right? Uh, Obviously, we saw Spawn pass Cerebus in the 300 issues, but that's obviously not done by a
Mhm.
single creator. So this is a really great achievement in that sense. Um, so this book was conceived by Perry, and all the information I'm about to be dropping is coming from Bleeding Cool. They compiled all of the info on the series. It was conceived by Perry during his tour of duty in the First Gulf War. There was a Gold Digger one shot published by Antarctic Press in 1991, followed by a 4-issue limited series in 1992 and 1993. Then a regular monthly black and white series started, and then finally in 1999, the current color series began with several spin offs coming out of it. But the main series hit 300, I want to say, in July, but they have since now solicited a epilogue 301, which comes out this week.
Oh, that is so fun. You really love to see just like multi-talented people pursuing their passions. Like the absolute dedication it takes to do 300 odd issues of something. That is so cool. That's wild.
It's actually absurd to wrap your head around, not just because getting a book to 300 in any conceivable way is something you can't wrap your head around. Like, you can count on your hand the amount of series that have done it. Spawn and Cerebus are the two that obviously come to mind. Savage Dragon will be there in a year or two, I think. Like, you have very few books that can even get there. And then you talk about written and drawn by the same guy.
For
Nobody else comes
25
on it.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and if you go from the very first, Gold Digger, anything, 1991. So we are talking 32 years of being dedicated to this character, to this world, to this universe. Just an absolutely absurd accomplishment, and it says a lot about, I think, Fred Perry as a creator.
Oh, absolutely. That's just so cool. I love that. Maybe we'll have
Yeah,
to pick
well,
up number 301.
maybe we will. There is also going to be a spin-off starting after this. 301 is going to be the end, I think,
Mhm.
presumably forever, of the main series, but there will be a spin-off, well, spin-offs, but starting with the first one is going to be Gold Digger Mistress of Mars, which is going to be, I believe, a 4-issue mini. um but yeah, I want to highlight this because I feel like seeing an independent creator reach something so monumental, you'd expect it to get a little bit more coverage than I think it has, which is really unfortunate because Spawn, well deservedly so, got so much attention when it broke
Mhm.
Cerebus's record. So to see, you know, this book do it, obviously different extent. Now there's another book that's higher, but
Yeah.
to see it and not really get that coverage, I wanted to kind of highlight it a little bit. I think it's a big achievement, and Antarctic Press is just really, I think, a publisher that does things the right way in terms of actually not just being willing to, but wanting to highlight actual independent creators that haven't done, big picture, big two stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a great story.
Yeah. So that's really all I had for the news today. But if we
Well,
wanted to move on.
let's swing on over to our pull list.
Okay, it is time for our polls of the week. This week we will be talking about Vector's number 1 from Scout Comics, Savage Red Sonja number 2, Green Arrow number 6, and Titans Beast World number 1. Um, those will be spoiler-free reviews, so just to let you know, you don't have to be concerned for any spoilers this week. And we're also going to tell you about the books that we won't be discussing, but we each picked up. For me, that's going to include Action Comics 1059, Alan Scott, The Green Lantern number 2, Batman Beyond Neo Gothic number 5, Steelworks 6, Conan the Barbarian 5, Edenwood 2, Firepower 29, my physical copy of Giant Robot Hellboy number 2, and finally Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures number 7.
Yeah, I also grabbed Giant Robot Hellboy number 2 in a physical copy, and a new indie book from, I think it's, Blood Moon Comics. It's called Haunted House, A Love Story. It was cute.
Ooh,
I grab it.
fancy.
Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. So, without further ado, do you have strong feelings about the order in which we discuss these books?
All right. I think the order should be Vectors, Red Sonja,
I'm
Green
agreeing so
Arrow,
far.
Beast
Okay, I'm in
World.
full agreement. I'm in full agreement.
Amazing.
So without further ado, let's transition to Vectors number one. In Vectors number one, a NASA capsule unexpectedly crashes back to Earth after being presumed lost in space almost 50 years ago. Its sudden return raises more questions than answers when it's revealed that the crew is not only still alive, but somehow haven't aged a day since their launch. And so begins a far reaching quest to uncover the mysteries and conspiracies surrounding their original mission, their disappearance, and ultimately, the future altering reasons of why they've suddenly returned to Earth. This is brought to us by co-writers Timothy E. Bacon and Grant Fragalosh. They've done a couple of anthologies for Silent Press together, and the artist is Ruben Gill, artist on a series called Call of the Suicide Forest for Amigo Comics. In addition, colors are by Juan Manuel Aguilera, and the letters are by Letters Squids. So
Nice.
I love that letters name, by the way. Um, yeah. So what did you think of Vectors, Katie?
I mean, this was a push from me to add to our roster because I am a big fan of weird space adventures. I've got my little spaceman on my shirt today. We love to see it. Uh,
Relevant.
I thought this was fun. I think that its concept is stronger than the sum of its parts, though. There are some
I
things
agree.
that I was uh, a little put off by personally.
The concept's outstanding for sure. There's things I really like in this. It's too slow paced, I think. It takes too long to hook me. Like the I don't it's a spoiler for review, but we get into like the actual characters at the very end. And
Mhm.
I think that's great. That like sequence, the like last 3 pages is really well done, I think. The dialogue's really great and everything. I need that earlier. I need that earlier in the book, I think, to really set up the character, because I think the main thing, like you said, some of the parts, I actually think a lot of the parts are great. I really do like the art. I actually think this might be the best lettering I've seen in an indie book in a really long time. Like the
I'm gonna
lettering's
hard
phenomenal.
disagree.
Really? The
I
lettering's
did not like the
phenomenal.
lettering. The lettering was one of my biggest problems with
Oh, I
it.
thought the lettering is phenomenal. You have like the scratchy, what the
No.
hell is that? There's a lot of like good emphasized words, I think, in
I think
here.
the emphasized words are way too overblown. I think that the lettering is way too aggressive in a way that doesn't add to the story, but instead distracts me from it. Like
Okay,
most of the instances
yeah.
where they had these kind of explosions of letters, I was like, that feels overemphasized for one, the art of the person saying it, and two, for the kind of tone of the situation.
I think it fits the tone of the story pretty well, but what I'm gonna say is I think it's entertaining in a very slow paced and boring story to have a few, not boring, but it's too slow. So in the moments that feel more boring, having that nice lettering there, I think, really stood out. I think, yeah, I I couldn't get behind any of the characters for the first decent chunk of the book, but I think the concept's
Same.
really good. The setup here is pretty good, I think,
Yeah, it
for
just took a
future
little
stuff.
while to get to.
Yes,
Yeah, there's
um,
like a fun twist that I'm a big fan
yes,
of.
same.
Um, but again, I don't know if the book is going to be focused on the part of the story that I'm the most interested in.
Which I think is a super fair concern. Did you have anything else before we got into ratings?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the book. Actually, I think that the story and concept is really really strong, and I am excited. I'm gonna keep pulling it. I wouldn't go out of my way to get this though, so I'm not gonna put it on my pull list rack for the week.
You didn't give a rating, Katie.
Oh, you're right. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Bang on in the
Okay.
middle. The story is doing a lot of the carrying for that because I think the contents themselves aren't as strong.
I feel like saying the story is a little bit the concept. I think does a lot of the carrying.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And then in my opinion, I think the art does a lot of the carrying. I think I like the vibe of
Artist.
the art a lot. This especially like the space moment stuff. I give this a 6 out of 10, a little bit higher because I did enjoy it. I thought it was quite enjoyable, and I thought it was a good setup issue. It's also not going to be a pull list rec from me, but especially for people who it seems like this is their first or second, the artist's second series, the writer's first series. I think it's a really strong start to what should hopefully be some good careers. Savage Red Sonja number 2. Hyboria's greatest warrior continues her journey with the young prince Lucian and his bride Celia. As they seek sanctuary from the desert's bloodthirsty bandits in a nearby castle, will they be able to fend off the ruthless horde? And after an early mistake causes a rift between Lucian and Sonya, will Sonya be back on her own on her quest to find the Blood Ruby? The writer of this book is Dan Panasian. He's
Mhm.
well known as both an artist and writer, credits including Daredevil Back in Black and Alice Never After. The
He's
artist
also doing Canary with Scott Snyder right now.
Yes, that he is as the artist.
Mhm.
I would point out compared to being the writer on this book. The artist on this series is Alessio Patilla, and this is, as far as I can tell, his first major credit in any big capacity. Also on the book, we have colorist Francesco Sagala. We have letterer Dave Sharp, and a coloring assistant Gloria Martinelli. Um, those are all the credits. So what are your thoughts on this book, Katie? How do you feel about Savage Red Sonja? I think this is the first Red Sonja you've ever read is this series,
That's
right?
yeah, this is the first Red Sonja that I have read. I really don't think I'm the target audience, unfortunately. Like I was not a huge fan of this. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I think that the characterization of Red Sonja, I don't know how she is normally. I didn't like her very much here. Um, I read issue 1 and issue 2 for this
Yes.
episode since I hadn't been keeping up with it, and she's just the. I don't think she's being done any favors with the way that Pimseen's doing his captioning.
Mm.
It feels very much like I'm being spoken to instead of being told a story. Like,
Yes.
Red Sonja closes the door. Red
Yes.
Sonja
Yes.
thinks about how guilty she feels.
There's definitely
And
some old school style captioning that's just literally describing what the art's already doing. That's one of my
exactly.
biggest issues with this book, for
Mhm.
sure. Not to
Yeah,
cut you off.
it's
Continue. I just want
less so
to
in
side.
this issue than in the first issue, but I think that we had a very exciting moment happen at the front of the issue, and then I thought it was going to have better reverberations throughout, and it just didn't. Like, there's a way that I think this story would have been really compelling to me, but I don't think that's what they're going for with it.
Which is super fair. I felt like the like interesting action and everything came more toward the back end of
Oh, there
this
was a
issue.
great sequence towards the back end, but like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of important plot thing at the front.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, my main issue, again, I usually consider something happens in the first couple pages, it's fair game in terms of spoilers, but definitely spoilers if you haven't even started the series yet. But Celia dies very early in this issue, and
And
it's not that impactful.
importantly, Red Sonja possibly let her die. Like
She gets
it's
hit in the
supposed to be
she gets hit
murky.
in the wrist.
It's supposed to be murky. Like, with all she's talking about how she hasn't been able to lay with a man, and then as soon as he like holds her from behind, her grip goes, and she obviously feels guilty about it, even if she is saying like, "Oh, I was shot in the arm." I think you're supposed to see that as a gray area.
That's fair. I assume that she was, that it ended up, that she didn't intentionally let her fall. I thought the action sequence was really great. I do really like this artist for Red Sonja. I think the dialogue is a little clunky,
Hmm.
uh, but like there's some great reds in it. This is a tough issue for me to place. I also think this series kind of backtracked with Red Sonja a little bit. Red Sonja and several other Dynamite characters, their continuity tends to be all over the place in terms of like writers changing things and then them getting added back in. The whole "can't lay with a man unless it defeats her" was removed from her mythology, and it seems to be back. So that's a little bit clunky. The art's really carrying what my rating's gonna be
Hmm.
here, but I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10 because it is some really fun action, and it's a style of book I tend to enjoy, but I definitely think that the execution could have been stronger here.
I was a little
Oh,
harsher.
and not a pull list track, by the way.
I gave it a 4 out of 10. I agree that the art is doing all the heavy lifting for that rating for me. Wasn't a huge fan of the story. I didn't really like the like actual dialogue. And again, this just I am not the target audience for it. So I also will not be giving it a pull list rack.
Green Arrow number 6. The real arch enemy of the Green Arrow is finally revealed. Ever since Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, Oliver Queen has been lost in time and space, separated from his loved ones, and now he knows why, and he's pissed off. Does he choose revenge or to finally be reunited with his family? The writer on this series is Joshua Williamson, writer obviously of Dark Crisis and the writer of the current Superman run. The artist is Sean Isaacsi, who has worked on Fantastic Four and Avengers. The rest of the team involves, because there were several artists on this issue, I should say, Trevor Hairsine, Phil Hester, Andy Parks doing some inking, and the colorist was Romula Fajardo, and letterer is Troy Pettery, and that is the team. What did you think of Green Arrow number 6, Katie?
I more so want to know what you thought of Green Arrow number 6.
Hmm.
I know how jazzed you were to find out who our
I
mysterious
was, I
enemy was.
was, I was. I do think Merlin was my first prediction, if I'm not mistaken. I
It
was really trying to
was.
talk myself into it being um, Prometheus, but I said that then it should have been more Roy focused. So this was the right move from a story perspective for it to be Merlin. So it makes sense. The interaction before he reveals that he's Merlin in the circus, where he's like in
Yeah.
Shane. I guess the reveal was a little bit of a spoiler. So I'm so sorry to people if maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I think you queued me up a little bit for that. So hopefully people will have ducked out if they didn't want that. But yeah, I thought that scene was good. I thought it was resolved too quickly and easily. I wanted more of an extended thing with them. There's a fake out. I'm not going to get too into it because of spoilers, but there's a fake out where a character is like, you think a character's going to die sacrificing himself, and it doesn't really come to fruition. I'm like, I don't want that character dead, but moment would have been better than what we ended up with. Um, so yeah, basically wanted the main conflict that we've been building to be stretched out a little bit more,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of really good stuff in this issue. Joshua Williamson's character dynamics are just always phenomenal. The Green Arrow family gets so much love in this series, which is really well deserved. This was one of the better issues, in my opinion, from the series, and I really did enjoy it. But those are my couple little things.
Yeah, I liked it a whole lot. I agree that it felt a little fast paced at the end. Like I really like uh, the way that they handled him dealing with the situation. But I wish that we got some gratuitous action beforehand,
Yeah,
instead of that being cut a little short. Um, yeah, the fake out, it got me. Uh, I I'm glad that the character didn't die, and I like what happened. I just wish there was a little bit more of kind of build up to what happened there. Yeah, like you said, the Green Arrow family has been given so much love here. It's so great. The way that Joshua Williamson has written Dinah and Ollie is so wonderful,
oh yeah,
so cute, and
absolute highlight.
right, this has just been such a fun ride. I know that there's been a bit of
Yeah,
muddiness in the
yeah,
middle, but we're like, what is going on?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is just so fun. I don't know that I would call this issue a pull list rec just because it is, the final issue of something with a major spoiler for the series that came. But the series as a whole, I definitely would, and I think the teaser we got at the end of what's coming next uh,
Very
is
strong,
gonna
very
be up
strong.
my
Yeah.
pull list.
Yeah, yep, yep. I want to also just throw because you kind of you threw out the great dynamic between Dinah and Oliver. Very different dynamic, but Jade and Roy's dynamic is so well done.
Yes.
And I love Roy in this series a lot of really good stuff. I don't think you gave a rating, so I'll throw it back to you in a
Oh,
second.
you're right.
But this is going to be a Polish wreck for me because I actually think it works. Just getting into it, you're kind of told what happened, so I think it works. I would pick it up. And if you're a Green Arrow fan and you're not reading the series, what the hell are you doing? You should be on this series. Um, I gave this a 7.5 out of 10. It's probably one of my favorite issues out of this series, and it was really strong.
Yeah, twin ratings there. I also gave it a 7.5. We love to see it.
Yeah, we love agreement. So let's move on. Car, oh, car, oh, car, oh, car, oh, car. Oh, look how cool this little tequila cover is. Look at
Regular cover, regular cover, regular cover,
I love
regular
this
cover.
cover so much. Oh, that's so fun. Anyway,
Cover needs more Nightwing.
no, no, fuck you. Let's move on to talking about Titans Beast World. The biggest threat to the DC universe is Beast Boy. Can the Titans save the world and their teammate? Clawing its way out of the pages of Titans comes an unprecedented threat to the DC universe. Superman, Wonder Woman, Starfire, all are powerless to stop the Necrostar from ending all life on Earth. The only hero who can save the world is Beast Boy. With Nightwing, Raven, Cyborg, and the Titans beside him, can Garfield Logan rise to battle an ancient evil? What will Amanda Waller do to take advantage of the situation as millions of people are changed into rampaging creatures? Can humanity survive all powerful heroes and villains transformed into ferocious beasts? Man, what a big ticket book here. The writer is of course Tom Taylor. I don't know if I have to really get into it, but he's writing the current Nightwing run, wrote Injustice. The artist is Ivan Reyes from Action Comics, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and many more. Man, his art on this book is so fucking good. So the rest of the creative team is going to include Danny Meeke, the inker. Colorist is Brad Anderson. Letterer Wes Abbott. That's everybody. Katie, how'd you feel about Beast World?
For all of the shit that I have been giving Titans,
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
loved this. I
Yes.
am so thrilled. I was so skeptical coming in because of how upset I've been with the current Titans run.
Yeah.
But
Same.
oh my gosh, this delivers.
It's crazy. Like if I had no context, you sat me down and had me read this Titan series and then Beast World, I would think that Beast World was written by somebody different. Like it is such a wild turn to where Tom
Mhm.
Taylor's like, oh yeah, I'm bringing my A game now, and this is like, holy shit, good man. Like this was really great. This is a great big event. It actually lulls you. Again, spoiler free, so I'm not going to get into things too much, but it lulls you into a false sense that it's essentially going to operate as like a one shot because it feels
Mhm.
like it's going to kind of, and then, oh, we take a turn. Um, is it a spoiler to mention the villain that's in this? He's been in other things. Can I mention the villain in this that kind of shows up?
Go wild.
Dr. Hate's in this. Oh, Dr. Hate's in this. Obviously, if you read Night Terrors, Dr. Hate kind of gets set up a bit there. But Dr. Hate's in this. That's so cool, so wild. This is such a fun book. Ray's drawing art is so good, and something that hit me very early on when like there's the scene where like Cyborg summons the boom tube and like there's that cool
Mhm.
moment. I was like, does Reyes draw my favorite Cyborg? Because maybe the
It's
Cyborg is so
pretty
good,
rad.
right?
All the art in here is great. I love the alien art that we get because that feels just like so important to this.
Oh yeah,
Beast Boy also done super well in a few different wacky forms,
yeah.
which I'm a huge
Gar,
fan
oh,
of.
gar, oh,
Gar,
gar,
oh,
oh,
gar,
gar,
oh,
oh.
gar, oh. This book tackled so much, and I think it was super well done. It gave weight to everything. It gave
Yes,
time to everything without it dragging.
and to
I
every
don't feel like
character.
and to every character. I don't think any part of it felt rushed, but it all was put together so well as things ramped and ramped and ramped. I am so jazzed for this series. I think it's going to give us some of the just coolest character art that we've seen in a while with these kind of bestial transformations. I know
Absolutely.
we've already seen some in some variant covers. I know there's a Batman one for an upcoming Nightwing book.
Oh, you know, there's a
Oh my
Batman
gosh, I'm
one. You
so
don't know
jazzed.
about that Dick one, huh?
No. I
What?
am
I
so
sent it
thrilled.
to you.
You did?
Yeah, I sent you the Dick one a while
I
ago.
thought that had
The
Batman on
tail
it.
cover. No, no. When were you like the tail
Hmm.
cover? Anyway. Um.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll ignore that one and just talk about the cool stuff that's gonna be coming.
um.
No, I'm so
Yeah,
hyped for this.
yeah. No, the setup here is great. Like the whole opening and kind of introducing the Necro Star, really, really well done. I
Mhm.
really think that somehow in like the first 10 pages of this, there's more characterization given to like each of the Titans than in the entire Titans book. Like
Yeah.
it's so good. Each of them, their personalities come through immediately. You know, you absolutely see how useful they are and like what their
Mhm.
purpose is immediately. It's such good setup. It's such good team book writing, which I think was actually my concern, that maybe I thought Tom Taylor just couldn't do team book writing compared to, individual,
Mhm.
series like Nightwing, for example. But absolutely blew out that concern here, because this is great team book writing. It's really good. Like that's the
Yeah.
sum up.
My one gripe
Yeah.
is a characterization one, and it's not really a gripe, it's just not my preference. I feel like Raven and Beast Boy have big, like, hot topic couple energy.
Their
Like,
relationship's gotten into an interesting place.
it feels very like codependent high schoolers,
Yes, yes,
which I'm not a huge fan of.
yeah,
But I think that there's enough depth to them as individuals
yeah.
that it evens out.
I agree.
Uh,
It feels like it's gotten a little extreme, especially
yeah.
in this issue. But I agree.
Well, jumping into ratings,
Yeah.
I gave this book an 8.5 out of 10. I liked it so much. I think it's great setup. I think it's great art. I think it's really good story and scripting, characterization, all that. I am so thrilled to read more of this.
Is it a poll list rec from you?
This is a pull list wreck.
Okay. Last thing I did want to say is I thought the placement of Batman in this was a little weird. Like, they all get mad at him for
I
calling
liked
out
it.
Gar for being like, "Oh, I think I have an idea that might work." And Batman's like, "This is the fate of the world. You can't think." And I'm like, "No, that's valid, Batman.
No,
That's valid."
I don't think so. I think that you can be skeptical, but Batman was not being productive,
No,
and throwing it over
I
to
thought
Dick
Batman
and
was
being like,
valid.
"No, I trust my team." Gar, what do
Um,
you mean? Was so good.
but in any case, I thought this was really strong. I gave it a 9 out of 10. Really enjoyed this issue, and it will also be a poll list rec for me, which does mean it will be an official poll list rec. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Want to get into the back issue review?
Let's do it. All right, our back issue review for the week is going to be Chicken Devil. If you don't want spoilers for Chicken Devil, hop ahead. There are time codes in the description wherever you're listening or watching. So make sure you go and read Chicken Devil, then come back and listen to our thoughts on it, and jump into the
Or
conversation
even if you haven't read it
yourself.
and you don't care about spoilers, you can spoil yourself right through our review.
Absolutely. Enjoy it through us. And then go read it yourself. Enjoy the conversation. Um, All right, Chicken Devil is a 4-issue dark comedy action comic from Aftershock. We follow Mitchell Moss, a husband and father, as well as a purveyor of hot chicken sandwiches in Los Angeles. His world goes up in flames when he learns that his longtime friend and business partner, Antonio, has been working with the Russian mob and, in an incomprehensibly stupid move, has double crossed them. In an effort to protect his family, Mitchell inadvertently ushers them directly into the crossfire and to their deaths. Having now lost everything to this mob, including Antonio, after a shootout at a motel, Mitch starts on a vigilante vengeance quest. But with the cops suspicious of his family's deaths and poking around, the mission becomes even more perilous. The odds are stacked against him, but Mitch truly is a man with nothing left to lose. He bombs a trampoline park hosting the Russians, pulls the trigger himself on multiple gangsters, and submits to the Chicken Devil balking within, just in time for his family to reappear, having escaped their death by mere inches. In a desperate bid to hide the looming danger of the mob and return his family to their normal lives, Mitch commits to a final quest as the Chicken Devil, going for the head of the organization himself. Just as things look darkest for our Chicken Man, he finds a pair of surprising allies at his side as a duo of Chicken Devils show up to help him on his crazy quest. The very cops that suspected him of murder. Chicken Devil was written by Brian Buccellato, a DC proven writer on books like The Flash and Detective Comics. The artist on this series is Hayden Sherman. You may know their work from work on Wasted Space, Dark Spaces, Dungeon, and they're currently doing art for Predator versus Wolverine. They do the colors on the book as well. Finally, the lettering is done by Hassan Asmane Elahu, a phenomenal talent in the space. He's worked on Batman books, The Flash, Harley, Ivy, a ton of AMD books from just about everyone. And I also want to shout out, I really enjoyed his comic magazine, Panel X Panel, Panel by Panel. I went on hiatus earlier this year, but definitely worth checking out the back issues. It actually won 2 Eisners. And just for you, Jay, the logo design for Chicken Devil, take it away. Who designed the logo?
Oh no, I went off that issue. I think it's David Sharp,
Oh
right?
no,
Dave
you were
Dave
so
Sharp. Dave Sharp.
thrilled.
Dave Sharp.
Yes,
Yes.
Dave Sharp
Yes.
designed the
Yes.
phenomenal Chicken Devil
Yes.
logo.
I was told that there was no time to do the logo designer in credits, and then yet Katie, for the first time ever in the history of script heroes, went into like specific credits of the letterer. So like let's let's waste time.
Look, I know how passionate you are about logo design.
Dude, logos are great, man. Yeah,
Logos are very
that was
important.
great. Shout out
So
to
Jay, I
Rethinking
have
Bards,
read
my logo
Chicken Devil
designer.
previously.
Yes, I have not.
Uh, you have
I have
not.
now, but
I
I
would
had not.
love to know
Yes.
your just initial takeaways from this
This
series.
is weird, man. I love how you sat here because I was talking. I was like, this feels like something that could be done in a like weird episode specifically for like a weird book. You're like, this isn't a weird. This is a weird book, Katie. Like I don't know who you're
It's a little
kidding.
bit of a
It's a
weird book.
weird book.
It's not Battle Pope weird.
No, but it's weird. It's weird. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I guess is what I'll say. Firstly, I think Hayden Sherman's a very talented artist. The style's not for me at all.
Mm.
It's not an art style that I really tend to enjoy, and it's going to be something that I don't think the story kind of shifts away in the final issue from being a traditional revenge story, but it's very much set up in a traditional revenge story, and this is not the art style I would choose for a revenge comic because it's not really it treats action differently than what I would want out of a revenge a book. It's much more on like the after moments of the action, which is great.
Mhm.
There's some great moments of like the Chicken Devil set above things, or like the scene where the goon like shoots himself is really
Yeah.
strong. But like all of the scenes of Chicken Devil like busting in somewhere and shooting everyone up, like it just didn't really have the impact that I would want it to have in a revenge story. Um, there's a lot of sincerity behind this book. I think, like in the sense that I feel like I can feel both creators. I can feel Bucciolato and Sherman's, care about this book, which comes across really nice. I don't know, is Brian Bucciolato from New Jersey? Because it feels like it.
I don't know.
It feels like it, like the Jersey Devil, like it's a devil's hat, but then like the kid referencing like the Jersey
Mhm.
Devil myth. I'm like, this is such a New Jersey kid thing to do as a New Jersey kid. So that was really nice. I really did appreciate that. Um, there's some fun stuff. Oh, and to give Sherman a little bit more credit, their explosion of the boat actually like shocked me. Like it is a moment that just I was like, holy shit! It just happened, and that was really really strong. Again, it's not. I don't think the art's bad. I don't think it's what
Mhm.
I would want out of this particular style of a book. Um,
That's fair. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna disagree with you a little. I know that it's a matter of opinion. There's certainly no right answer. I think I approach Chicken Devil more as a dark comedy than as like a kind of action revenge book. And I think that Sherman's art works really well for that. There are a bunch of instances where I think that they really nail like the comedic timing of comic panels, which I just think is super rad because it's something that I don't think is always done amazingly well. Um, so I thought the style fit the book really well, but this is, obviously two different perspectives on the same
yeah,
story. So there's no right answer with that.
absolutely. The other thing I'll say because I'm like I had a hard time following it until like three-quarters of the way through the first issue, for several reasons. The first one being I don't think the mob's introduction is done well. I don't really like. I kept going back and forth between those two people. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I was like, I legitimately don't know what I'm meant to be conveyed. I literally jumped out of it to like look at a summary of the first issue. I'm like, oh, the guy owes the dude, and you find out later that the guy owes the mob money. But I just don't think it was addressed well because like the first dialogue line following that is like we have to get to a yacht or whatever. And I was just like, am I
Mhm.
missing? I felt like I was missing a page in the digital copy, honestly. Like it felt like such a juxtaposition where I'm like, I don't feel like the character of Mitchell here because like I get why it's Antonio, right? I get why Antonio would
Yeah.
be like wanting to move on. It felt like Mitchell was too accepting of something that was just wildly crazy. Like I didn't
Mhm.
feel like I wanted Mitchell to have like the reader insert moment there of like what the fuck is going on? Who are these people? Like I wanted some indication that Mitchell didn't know who they were. Mitchell was like Mitchell just seems to immediately go, oh yes, this is clearly a bad situation, so I'm gonna like follow my friend, which is
Mhm.
fair, but I think from a reader perspective, made it a little hard to follow. One,
No, I get that. I think that it's definitely a case of the reader being put into Mitchell's shoes instead of Mitchell being put into the reader's shoes, if that makes sense. Where, like, to your point, Mitchell doesn't really know what's going on. So with it being so tight on his perspective, I can definitely understand it being confusing to
I think my issue is that I
us as
didn't in the
well.
moment think Mitchell didn't know what was going on. Like they didn't accurately
That's super
convey that
fair.
to me.
Yeah.
Like to me, I wasn't of the mindset in that moment that Mitchell was also confused because I was like,
Mhm.
I was like, is Mitchell like also in on who these guys are? Because he just immediately seemed to see them, go bad situation, let's get out. Well, obviously his friend said let's, but he like went with them.
Right.
That
Yeah.
being said, that's really the only real moment of, like once we move past the first issue, I think things are very clear and well done in that
Mhm.
sense. I really liked issue 4 almost all the way through. I thought issue 4 really like was I think the saving grace of the series. Where I was like, okay, now we've got strong. The family coming back, I have mixed feelings on. I was like, yeah, you kind of set everything up with this, but also you did surprise me. It does create like good story moving forward. Um, so I kind of ended up being okay with it. That being said, the two
Yeah,
cops
that's
helping him at the end, I was just like, I don't know why that. Like, if it's so inserted in just the last page, note, and I was
yeah.
like, not really.
Those are actually the two gripes I have with the book as well. I really like the family coming back. I wish that there was a little, even just a little bit of groundwork to it.
Hmm.
Like Mitch brings up, he's like, "You didn't die and you didn't tell me," and they're like, "We thought you tried to kill us," and it's like, okay, valid. He did send you onto a boat that then blew
But then
up,
why you come back
but
is like the
also
question, right?
exactly,
Yeah. There's no like
exactly. So
there's
like,
nothing
I
to give us
think
why it
that's
changed, which is I think the thing.
exactly. I think that's a little bit messy, especially with like the cops thinking that the family is dead. You would think that they would have seen that they took a flight somewhere,
Yeah.
or
Bus, right? Wasn't it a bus they hopped
booked a
on?
hotel somewhere or something.
Anyway.
In any case,
Yeah.
they probably would have had a footprint. I know that they were using cash,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you can't get a hotel with cash. Um,
Okay.
you have to have a card on file most of the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
in case you
Probably get a
damage the
motel
ring.
with cash though,
Uh,
right? Probably.
Probably, but it cut to them being at a pretty nice
That's true.
hotel.
That's true.
Uh,
That's true.
and with the cops coming in at the end, I think that where I landed on it is that it's pretty good setup for the follow-up series that's been coming out, Chicken Devils, but it does not work very well as an ending.
Yeah, I don't love that as like the and the other thing I'll say. Well, first look at it quick. I'm gonna say a couple things here because I feel
Okay.
like I'm sounding harsher than I intend to be on this book because it's just like the thing sticking out to me because I did enjoy it, but so the first thing I'm gonna say is once we got a few pages on from the family thing, I accepted it because I think that was blended
Mhm.
into the story pretty
Yes.
well, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's fine. I can accept that 100%. That's fine. The cops come and there's a little bit of groundwork laid for the cops in that they like immediately accept, like they're like, oh, you're cleared, we figured out what's going on, oh, your family's back, we don't care. Like I was literally like, what do you mean, like why are you that okay with the family being back, like why is more not happening? So I do like that was actually set up a little bit, but man, I don't think the last page, like, or is it, yeah, it's the last page, really let, because they
Yeah.
just show up, here we are, and the dialogue's real clunky, I feel like, and
Yeah.
that's an issue that is not there at all the rest of the series. The dialogue in the series is
Yeah.
phenomenal, which is why
The
it felt
dialogue
so
is one of my
weird.
favorite parts,
Yeah.
and which is why I'm absolutely 100% agreeing with you that this last page it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Um, I just I love this series so much, and I think the landing is stuck until it stumbles.
Hmm.
Like I love the concept of uh like a man who loses everything and then gets it back.
No, it's a
Like
fun
Mitch
twist
has
on the.
crossed a line
Oh
definitively.
yeah,
He's fucked with them up. He's been killing people. He
yeah.
bombed a trampoline park.
I mean, they literally
Like,
the line, I think it's said by Mitch, and I love Mitch's mother as a character. I want to say great
yes.
inclusion in the book, and not like harped on and over explained. So nice in that sense.
Mhm.
Like the whole like you have nothing left to lose. Like that's a power, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, the thing to lose comes back. Like that is a really fun twist on this revenge
Right?
type of story. Because like as much as you said it's dark, like yeah, dark comedy is like the I guess genre I'd say, but the like structure is still a revenge tale. I think pretty
Sure,
definitively.
yeah.
Everybody you
I
love
think
is
it could be
killed.
both.
You're going after a mob. Like it's very much the setup of like that
Yes.
revenge
Yeah.
story type thing. But I think it's a I don't know if I'd say it's a parody of it, but it's like a twisting of it, you know.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna be real hoity and say an elevation of it.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I love revenge
I
stories.
would. Because
Um,
I love a twist on a classic
I
trope.
love revenge stories a
Um,
lot, but yeah, it's the other thing though that is why this can't function as a revenge story, and I'm glad that we kind of get the family back in issue 4 to change it. Is a revenge story with an incapable main character doesn't really work because the whole
mhm.
thing of the revenge is like, no, this needs to be a badass who's just going to be able to take
Yeah.
everybody out. And so when Mitchell's like
You need to
accidentally
be
killing
John
people and stuff,
Wick.
yeah, you need to be John Wick or why can't I think of another revenge story off the top of my? Never mind. We're gonna. But yeah, you got to be John Wick. You gotta go through that. But yeah, but the twisting of it does make it much more. And I feel like Chicken Devils has an opportunity to be even more enjoyed by me because it'll be more set
Mhm.
in what it is instead of me kind of twisting your expectations in a way that's
Yeah.
like a little bit. Yeah.
Now, kind of skipping back to something you mentioned there, with Mitch being so incompetent as an individual, like fair, so he's a chicken guy.
Just
Uh,
a chicken guy. Just
I
makes really good
He's just a
chicken.
chicken guy. They took away the fact that he's a father and a husband, and they took away the fact that he's a chicken
All
guy.
that's
He has
left is
nothing
the
left.
yeah.
The devil. Oh, what a good line. But no, I am focusing in.
Yeah.
Mitch is incompetent, and when rereading, that was something I was worried was going to be kind of a hiccup because I'm like, okay, Mitch is just a dude, and he is taking out a large amount of people. Where did you fall on kind of the kind of scale that Mitch uh, gets
It
to?
does a weird blip because that scene where he like wipes out half of the gang is like the one time he's
Mhm.
presented as this like conquering badass, and then he slips right back into being incompetent when he goes at the boss again. So I was like, I don't know why that one blip he's able to go in and like kill everybody, and that's the moment where I was really like, the art doesn't land for me here because he's just like, it doesn't fit that like full badass montage moment. And it's the only time it exists in the book is that like one scene, and then we go back to
Mhm.
like, he's gonna run through a glass door when like trying to conquer these. So I don't know why we have
Yeah.
this moment where he's so successful. Maybe it's because it's like the difference in when he thinks his family is dead versus when he thinks like
Mhm.
his family is alive, and like that changes his like ability. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of slipping too much into the revenge thing of being like, oh, now he's this badass who can kill a bunch of people, and then going back. Like I feel like it'd be more fun if he kind of stumbled his way through the first conquering too,
Mhm.
like he did with the
I
first
hear that.
gang member. But it doesn't. I don't think it detracts a ton. It's still fun and still really works because from a plot sense, it really works. I feel like from a character sense, it's just a little bit inconsistent.
That's a really good way to put it because I mean with the on the plot side of things, I think Brian Buccellato is amazing at like doing little details that are groundwork, which is why I think I missed that so much with the family.
Yeah,
Um, what one of the like opening scenes, like the third scene in the book or something, is Mitch and Antonio talking about how the chicken fry the like the ovens, the pressure
yeah, yeah,
cookers
yeah,
are exploding.
yeah.
And so having that kind of jump up to him blowing this place up, I think makes a lot of sense. It's got the groundwork to it. I find it very believable for him. But then there is also that sense of, oh, he did just kill like, I don't know, 30 people.
Yeah,
Some of them not mobsters, presumably. Uh,
yeah,
so it's rough.
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
and I do love that that's obviously the big line for him because that's also when he does his most intentional kills where he like executioner style takes him out. Like
Yeah,
he shot the guy in the car, but that I think you could very much argue is a self-defense survival thing. This is very much a
that
vengeance
actually
thing.
let me go back. That is his most competent moment that comes out of nowhere is being able to like grab the gun out of the dude's pocket from the front seat. That honestly is maybe a little bit worse than the moment of exploding the I forgot about that moment until you mentioned it. That moment was one where I was like, wait, how the fuck is this being allowed to happen? Where he can just like pull the gun from this like in theory actually experienced like mobster in the front seat and like shoot him. again, not like so detractingly so, but just I think the
Yeah.
power scaling of Mitch is like a, or not, but like the competency scaling of Mitch as a
Yes.
character feels very all over the place. But it's still, it's always to serve a function. So I give them
Hmm.
credit in that sense. Like, I don't think Brian Bugelato's ever like just being like, "Oh, this would be a badass moment. Let's do it." Like, it's very
Yeah.
intentional.
And I
In a
don't think
sense.
any of it is so bad, like so unbelievable that I'm like, what? Uh, because grabbing someone's gun, not, a superhero move. Leaving a bomb somewhere, not a superhero move. Um, which is why I think it all comes back with what you were saying when he becomes this kind of idiot again, where he stumbles through a glass door when trying to go
Not
confront the
stumbles,
leader of the
full
mob.
speeds ahead through a glass door because he thought it was open.
He
Like, I thought
thought
that
it
he
was
just thought it was going to
open,
be like, when it first happened I was like, oh, he just thought it would be easier to get through than it was, which feels
right?
within his incompetency level. But then when it's revealed that he just thought it was open, I'm like, are you a bird? Like, I guess that was the joke because he's
I'm-
dressed like a bird. But and like funny, but
it's
also
so good.
how did
This
you
book is
how
so
did you
funny.
how did you get flanderized so much in just 4 issues to the point that you literally don't know a glass door is closed?
Ugh. See, I believe it. I've run into glass doors. Is
Have
that just
you?
have you not?
No. Who is running into a glass door?
I mean, I guess not when I was like staring directly at it. But if it's clean
I'm
enough, it can
concerned. No,
it
it
can look
can't.
open.
No, it never does. People say that, and that's like a TV thing. It never actually just looks like nothing's there.
Anyway, moving on.
I'm so sorry.
So Mitch is the chicken devil, and like you said, he's dressed like a fucking bird. I love his character design so
Oh, the character
much.
design's
Like,
phenomenal. Got throw some credit the artist's way again because again, like I have no
absolutely.
issue with the art, and I think the artist is very talented. I just
Hmm.
have my slight
Yeah.
not a style that is my like personal favorite, but that's
In case you
that's the way the
haven't read
comics
Chicken
go.
Devil, exactly. Mitch owns these hot chicken restaurants. So the mascot for the restaurant
A
is
chicken.
a chicken with little devil horns. And to hide his identity because he's scared to get caught with a bunch of heroin, he wears the mascot costume. And he's just wearing it around. And we have
Until
this
he
like
gets his like
intense
badass like yeah, fucking like
exactly. We have this
militarized
intense
yeah,
gearing up scene as he
yeah.
like gets ready to go do the
Maybe my
bombing,
favorite scene in
and
the
then
whole
he
book.
puts the chicken
Yeah,
mask
yeah.
on top.
Maybe my
It's so
favorite.
good.
Actually, no. I have one other moment that's my favorite moment of the book. But
Oh,
that's my favorite moment of the book is when he's like outside his restaurant and like the like kid who works for him comes up to the car, and the kid gets so upset when he realizes he could have been promoted to assistant manager, and he's
right.
like, "Oh shit!" Again, the
Maybe
dialogue
I should
writing
have
is
asked
top
somebody
tier.
questions about dicks and lemonade. Right.
Like, gotta give that
To
credit.
actually focus in
That's
on that. I
yeah.
wanted to go to literally page 1 of this book, uh,
Ooh, I might push
where
back. Well, actually, there's I don't think it's page one.
ooh,
Page one, and I think page one is solid. Page two is solid. I have an issue with page three. With
that's fair. I was
yeah,
specifically going to talk about page 1 going into page 2.
yeah. That's
We
really good.
see the like very normal family chaotic morning of Mitchell's family.
Yeah,
Everyone's yelling stuff, everyone's asking for different things, and this is all happening as Mitch is just like making his coffee. And then on page 2, it breaks down to just like these very neat organized panels where he addresses each
love that.
person as he does like the different steps of his coffee, and then it devolves into chaos again below, and it's just so good. It feels so much like a genuine family. I love it so much.
Absolutely, and I think that was done really well. On page three, there's that like the yellow panel, where like, and I just didn't know which order to read the dialogue in there which
Yes,
bothered me a
yeah,
little bit. Again, I get it. I know that it was meant to be chaotic, so it didn't like detract too much. But I don't. It frustrates me when I don't know which order I'm supposed to read things in.
yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, the moment you mentioned of like breaking it down, like such a good insight into Ware's characters at that point, and really well done.
Mhm.
The dialogue writing throughout this whole thing is just phenomenal,
Oh,
and the credit the page layout there really strong on page two to
yes,
do that.
so
So
good. And talking about the dialogue, I also really, 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 really want to talk about the lettering. This is my
Lettering's great.
favorite lettering in any
It's
comic book
really
I
good.
have ever
It's
read.
really good.
It's so good. It fits
The
the
little like
tone
arrow
both of the
things that
story,
like explain
right?
things sometimes, like the guy who killed himself in the last day. I'm like, that's fun. That's fine.
Even
This is Mitchell
on
Mars.
the
Mitchell
first
Mars's
page,
house.
it's
This
like
is Mitchell Mars.
Mitchell Moss,
Yeah.
yeah, and does a bunch of arrows at him. It's so well done, and just amazing credit to Hassan, who's just such a talent. Even the choice to like the speech bubbles are, they don't have traditional tails. They're like all the white of the bubble is seeping out from the outline. The tails are just like black lines
Yeah.
with a bit of a white kind of coloring
Like
around them
script.
as well. Exactly. It all fits so well with the tone of the art, with the, I mean, the plot of the book. It literally looks like someone just scrawling on top of the action that's happening,
Yeah.
because I don't think that we're allowed to feel kind of set in place enough to have a regular speech bubble. It's like, nope, these came in after because the action was
Absolutely.
happening too fast.
Um, yeah, I don't know if you have anything else or if you want to get into ratings and top tens because I feel like we've done a good
I
job
would
summing.
love to get into ratings and top
Okay.
tens. I think Chicken Devil is phenomenal. Again, it's the book that brought me into Aftershock, which is one of my favorite publishers. I love a ton of stuff that they
Read
do.
Animosity, Elton
Uh,
Tomasi, great artist.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Animosity Evolution.
Yeah.
It's got just the best fucking lettering, which I think jumps at 17,000%. The art is a style that I really personally love. The character evolution of Mitch, the twist on the genre, all of it just works for me so well. I'm giving this a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow, wow. And then do you want
Here's
to
the thing,
read
I
out your
came
top
into
10
this
list with this
choosing
now?
my yeah,
Because
I
there's
came
there's
into
enough
this
things on
choosing one of
now
my favorite books.
because I think we
There
should start
are.
reading them out. Yeah.
Good call. So the top of my list is going to remain Noctera Volume 1, because just a perfect book, uh, in my opinion. This is going to come in at number 2, though. I love Chicken Devil. I think it does so much with the time that it has. The ending doesn't necessarily stick all the way, but the fact that that's literally just the last page, I find incredibly forgivable. Number 3 for me is Radiant Black, and then number 4, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Okay.
How about you, Jaybird?
Yeah, I enjoyed this. It's far from one of my favorite comics of all time. I don't think I'm the intended audience for this. But it's a fun book. I gave this a 6.5 out of 10. Um, it's a book that I enjoyed, but it does not push anywhere into like the upper echelon of like greatest comics for me. My top 10 list at this point is Noctera at number 1, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths at number 2, Radiant Black Volume 1 at number 3, and Chicken Devil Volume 1 at number 4. Oh, and Noctera was also Volume 1. So but yeah, that
Yes,
is
yeah.
that is the top 10s. You want to move to the Creator Corner, Katie?
Let's move on to the Creator Corner. Here we are in the Creator Corner, where we chill out, talk about being writers, talk about our process, the stories we've written, tell the stories we've told, about the stories we've told, and get into all things creator. This week we actually have a special announcement in the Creator Corner. Limit Break Comics, I believe it's a UK based publisher, is putting out a call for submissions for an anthology. It's called Wish Upon a Star. You can find a blog post on their website for all the details. Just know that you're going to need a full creative team, so artist, writer, letters and colors taken care of, uh, as well as a pitch ready by, at the very latest, January 26th. You can submit through them the portfolios for your team as well as your
Yep.
pitch.
And it's
So
all
hop
about
on in there.
sci-fi-ifying old fairy tale stories. So
Yeah.
fun time. I think me and Katie both have gotten teams together to pitch with, and
Mm-hmm.
so maybe you'll end up in it with us if we end up in it.
Yeah.
I got
Or
rejected
maybe
from their
we'll
last
end up in it
anthology.
with
I don't
you.
think Katie ended up submitting to it. Fractured Realms. I
It's
did
right. I
buy it
got
though.
rejected
Fun book.
from a different fairy tales sci-fi anthology.
Oh,
Actually, we both
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah,
Fairy
we
Tales
both
from
got
Mars.
rejected from Fairy Tales
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
Mars. Tragic.
yeah. Big
Ah.
tragedy. Um,
Yeah, that's not what we're talking
no,
about this week.
no.
This week, Jay, I have a question for you.
I'm scared.
If you were to tell me the kind of one of the most popular adages that are given to writers as advice, what would you say is like the kind of most stock advice that you can get as a
Get a
writer?
real job.
About writing.
um, Revising or rewriting is writing.
You didn't guess right on the first try. I'll just give it to you. It's write what you know. You know,
Uh,
that's
uh,
a kind of a
I've always hated
popular,
that advice.
which is great because we're talking about ignoring that advice
Okay,
today.
great. I
Uh,
was like, I write ancient Rome and feudal Japan, which I mean, I've researched, so I know, but like the whole needs to be from personal experience. I feel like is
mhm.
is a heavily flawed idea.
Agreed, agreed. So I want to talk about this week writing about what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that just in terms of things that fall outside your personal experiences. I want to talk about things that fall out of your like read experiences. Like
Mhm.
obviously you're a fan of Rome and
I love
feudal
ancient
Japan,
civilizations so much in comics. It's like my favorite fucking thing. So much.
which is why it makes sense that the book that you wrote as like your personal passion project includes those
Yeah,
elements,
yeah,
but you've written plenty of things
yeah.
that do not adhere to that at all.
Oh yeah.
So what's it like to write about something that you don't even like to read about?
It can be rough, man, and it depends on like the level of it. Like not, and this is, I hope this doesn't sound like too garbage of a thing to say, but I think effort level in projects does sometimes, if you're working on a lot of things, reflect the level of said product. Like when you have a client coming to
Oh
you
yeah.
and it's like, ah, yes, I have this grand plan and we're gonna release like 50 issues and but I don't know how I'm gonna release them and I'm gonna do something probably, and you're like, oh, it's probably never actually gonna be released. It's different effort level than or not necessarily effort level, but there's a different amount of care taken in like making sure that you know what you're talking about than in
Hmm.
something that's going to be like, oh, I know this comes out on Webtoon every month. This comes out, they make physical copies and they do a Kickstarter and it's going to actually be in people's hands. There's a different level there. So my level becomes, I'm a research junkie. Even on the projects that I consider low effort for me is just not doing as much research. It's not doing any research, but like I will, if I pick up a property that already exists, I will sit there and buy every single issue that I can find and read them straight, read like 100 issues if there's 100 issues, to know what the hell I'm doing. I don't like going in completely blind, but my level of research can differ. But it'll be like at least a cursory Google to be like, oh, what is this? If I'm writing,
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll say if I'm writing about, I did a book that was about a war. I can't. This was like a year and a half ago. I can't remember what war, but about like a very specific war. And so I went and I like read a couple web pages on like, oh, what was this war like? Like what weapons do they actually have? What things would they actually be carrying? Because you never, the effort level should never be like low. The effort level should never be
Hmm.
just getting it done. It should always be with
Right.
care and with attention, just different levels of that. So I always try and at least know what should be there, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Oh yeah. I think that makes a ton of sense. There have been a few projects that I've done. One was about like a very obscure train inventor, like in Paris, and he didn't have much to go on. But I read the Wikipedia pages. I skimmed the book that the client sent me an e-copy of that he
And
had
you get
written
sent like
about
a
the guy.
300-page thing, and they're like, you just have to read this to know what it's about. It's like, oh yeah, I'll do
And I'm
that,
like,
buddy.
sir, you hired me to write a comic strip. What are you doing? Uh, yeah, for sure. There's definitely different layers of it, and I think one of the things that you hit on there is really important is just reading the type of book that it is.
Yeah,
Like I know that when you were working on a Green Hornet project for a pitch,
yeah.
you read a ton of Green Hornet
They
and
won't let
like
me do Green Hornet.
related
I've tried really
the one that
effing hard. I literally drove to the Dynamite headquarters to try and talk them into letting me do a Green Hornet book, and was essentially laughed out of the building.
Oh no! You make it sound so sad. It was a very technical reason that you weren't allowed to do it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, but Green Hornet is like that dream project for me that I've been trying really hard now
Mhm.
for a couple of years to get off the ground. But yeah,
Right. So reading the Green Hornet books and like kind of related stuff from it,
Yeah.
a script that I just recently reread of my own was a very like Tarzan and Conan the Barbarian inspired thing, which is not a genre, right? It's not a genre that I particularly like, though, as you would have heard in the pull list review
Well,
about Red Sonja.
that's its own thing. Read Jim's
Yeah,
up,
that it
Conan.
wasn't a good.
I'm gonna get you to read Jim's ups, Conan, and
Okay,
we'll talk about that. But continue.
for sure. Um, but yeah, so I picked up a few Tarzan books. One big thing that I did was I scrolled through a lot of like cover art for stuff just to like kind of get the tone
Yes.
of the books figured out. I did that with a lot of Conan because there's a million
Conan
Conan
has some of the
books.
best. You got to look at Mike Mignola, like Conan cover.
Yeah,
Good stuff. Good stuff all around.
exactly. So even if it's not something that you know about or a genre that you really read, you can still kind of poke around with an almost critical eye as you look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm somebody who loves reading comic books, so like, it's not a lot of time. Like, it's also it's like the difference of expectation. If I am told you have to read all these or you have to read all this stuff to write this, I'm gonna be less receptive to it than if they're like, here's the
Mhm,
thing, we'd like you to learn a little bit about it, or whatever, and then I go out and I go, okay, I'm gonna go crazy because I want to go crazy. I teased
mhm,
last week a webtoon project. As you know, I've spent like a month researching for this thing at this point. Like I've been doing a ton of research uh, to do this project that is still in very much like a flux state. But yeah, I'm very because I love comic books. If the research is consisting of like other comic books to like get the feel of the genre, the storytelling, that's not going to be an issue for me.
yeah. But it is certainly a lot of work. You've
Oh
literally
yeah,
been, I think you said you've been like reading yourself to
I
sleep with
have.
these
Yep.
webtoons for research for just months now. That's obviously not, even if it's fun, it's still definitely work that you are putting in. Um, yeah, so is there any genre or type of story that you think falls so outside of your purview that you would be like upset or you would see it as a chore to work on?
Man, there was a lot more. I've become like I didn't like to do comedy at all. I hated doing comedy. Um, I think I've expressed my distaste towards like the deification of comedy in fiction, but
Mhm,
I've written more and more comedy and I'm more and more comfortable with it. But I've written a lot of things. I feel like slice of life is the thing that I still don't. It's not my thing. Um,
mhm.
I don't think I'm good at it and I don't enjoy it. So that's not a good cross section to have. Well, you mentioned like barbarian, like wandering barbarian
Mhm.
stories for you for like something. But is there anything else that you don't really feel comfortable
Um,
doing?
I mean, Wandering Barbarians was rough for me because I there are a lot of tropes in that genre that I'm not a fan
This is
of.
Katie talking around the fact that she looks down upon this style of no, I'm
I do not. He It's just not for me. Uh like I'm not a big, maidens type of writer. Like I you obviously do too. I love the female lead of your personal comic.
oh,
Obviously we are both
I played with that trope
fans.
too. Not something that gets me
Yeah,
into, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
really enjoyed playing with that trope.
Yeah.
And
Uh
you had a lot of input in helping flesh out that character.
well, um as a woman, um
Oh God.
as
Joseph Jasionowski can't write women without consulting women. No.
yeah, basically the Wandering Barbarian was rough for me because it's like, I feel icky when I write that this woman like drapes herself over him and says, "You saved me." So even in that script, I couldn't help but be like, "She saved him first." Like it was a more passive saving him, but I'm not just gonna write these flat women. But yeah, it's all about finding the parts of a genre that you haven't read or you don't really like, and finding there's gonna be something there that you can latch onto. Like for me with the barbarians, he had a dog. Like that's a thing that they do. They have like these big wolf beasts.
That's your thing for like every. Like, I don't know how to do this. He's gonna have a dog.
It's
I don't
so
want to do
true
this. I don't like
though.
the genre. He's gonna have a dog. He's got a
It's so
dog.
true. I was compiling a bunch of my scripts to put up on like a portfolio website, and I'm
Dog
like,
one,
why
dog
are
two,
so
dog
many of
three,
these
dog four, dog
just a
five,
hero and their
dog
dog?
7, dog 8.
In any case, I think that's gonna bring us to a wrap
I
on
think
the
so.
creator corner this week. Find the part of the genre you're writing that you can latch onto, that you think is interesting. It's gonna be there, and you will find that the story that you're trying to write will be there as well. As always, we want to kick it over to you guys. If you want to join the conversation, have thoughts on genre, if there's a genre that you think can't be done well, no matter what,
Should there be a genre purge from the comic book industry altogether? Let us know.
yeah, you can absolutely join the conversation. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff.
All right, I think that's going to be it for today's episode.
I'm just going to board this escape yacht here.
I'm going to go write my pitch for Wish Upon a Star.
Next week, we'll be doing things a little differently. There will be no back issue review, and instead, we'll be diving into just a ton of polls.
Yeah, those are going to include Hellboy, Yule Cat, Petrolhead number 2, Our Bones Dust, Hunger in the Dusk, both of the Titans Beast World tie-ins, and Katie's first foray into Transformers. Other than
Michael Bay and Megan Fox.
So yeah, tune in Wednesday. See how many of those many polls will earn a poll list rack.
Since we won't have that back issue review, this weekend we will be uploading our first bonus episode of a new show we'll be calling The Strange Saturday Super Show.
This is going to be a special show where on the second Saturday of every month we'll be discussing one of comics' most absurd series. First up is Volume 1 of Battle Pope, coming to you from Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore.
Kirkman and Moore's first comic. It's no Walking Dead, but it's something.
Something strange, that is. And just one last little plug here. This same Saturday that we will be releasing Battle Pope, December 9th, there will also be a Pay What You Want anthology released digitally called Space Cows and Alien Meatballs. It's being released on smallguydoodle.com/meatballsanthology. There'll be a link in the description of this podcast. And I wrote a one-page comic called All's Fair in Space War for that.
Very cute. Can't wait to check it out. But that is going to be all for today.
We'll see you next week, Comic Geeks. Because you had like such a devious little look on your face, like I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him.
And I did.
Roll it again.